shout out to my main man, Robert Uzel. He does a little bit of writing and a lot of the video work for the website, the Fight Journal. And Robert said something that made me laugh at first, but then when I watched the replay of Vasyl Lomachenko versus Guillermo Rigondeaux, I wasn't laughing as hard because I found some validity in the point he made. He pretty much said that Lomachenko's father was the Joe Jackson of this thing. He was the Joe Jackson of boxing. And when I watched some training video of Lomachenko, and I hear his father talk about, well, he didn't start Vasyl boxing he didn't start him boxing when he was young. He started him boxing when he was in the womb. So and then after the fight, when Vasyl jumped on the ropes and kind of stretched his arms out, his father kind of pulled him away and said, listen, act like, or whatever kind of speech he gave him, but it was, act like you know that you should be here. I mean, good job tonight, but there's still work to be done if you're going to be considered one of the greatest to ever do it. And then when Vasyl was in his corner and someone put a crown on his head, his father once again said, no, we're not going to have any of that, and took the crown off. And I said, you know what, I can see a little Joe Jackson growing up. And when you're tough on your kids like that, sometimes they want to rebel. And I think that's Vasyl's way of rebelling and saying, okay, let me have my fun. And the father's like, not yet. There's still a lot of boxing left. So I think that's a good point. Let me know what you think about that below. I mean, and check out some of his what his father puts him through, and before you know, if you don't know, check it out. Then leave a comment below. Also want to give a shout out real quick to a young lady. We'll just call her Crystal. And I want to say thank you for letting me know that I can still have a little bit of fun from time to time. And so I enjoyed myself, and I thank you for that. We're going to get on air and try to do a blog talk show to talk about this weekend's action, me and Rob, which with the emphasis on the ESPN main event. We're going to do some big things in 2018. Just got to get a few things straightened out and see where it takes us next year. So stay tuned for that. So let's start with the Tevin Farmer versus Kenichi Ogawa fight. I'm a little biased when I say this, but I mean it when I say it. If you want fights to be scored on the up and up, you have to bring them back to Atlantic City or another venue in New Jersey like the Prudential Center or the Cure Insurance Arena. I believe that's in Trenton, New Jersey. One thing's for sure. If there are bad decisions in New Jersey, Larry Hazard, the commissioner, the Black John Wayne of boxing, will rule with an iron fist. and properly discipline whoever steps out of line. And I don't care if that's another commission member. I don't care if that's a referee. And certainly don't care if it's any of the judges scoring a fight. New Jersey is by far, and I think that's why a lot of fights have left New Jersey. Boxing seems to thrive on corruption, but in New Jersey, as long as Larry Hazard is the sheriff, he's not going to have it. So, Tevin Farmer seemed to be the clear winner in the fight. And once again, it's time for roll call this week. Here we go. Tim Cheatham. Now, Tim Cheatham scored the fight correctly. He had it 116-112 for Tevin Farmer. So, you leave his name off the roll call list for now. But the other two morons who, once again, came up with bad scorecards, and Jim Lampley was right to call out Harold Letterman's buddy, Max DeLuca, who Letterman always talks about. Oh, what a great judge he is. Oh, he's one of the best. Look, DeLuca had the fight 16-12 for Ogawa. So the question is he inept or is he corrupt? Well, he also scored Ishe Smith versus Julian Williams, 99-91 for Julian Williams. No way. No way. The fight was closer than that. And I think Julian Williams would tell you the fight was closer to that. I believe he won, but not by a score of 99-91. Absolutely not. I thought DeLuca scored the Golovkin-Jacobs fight incorrectly. His card just didn't... Anyway. And the other judge, Bert Clemens. Here's a guy who had the first Kovalev-Ward fight scored incorrectly for Ward. 114-113. No. He scored the first Mayweather-Maidana fight, the widest out of all three judges, and it was too wide. So you listen, fans, media, you have to you got to continue to follow these people's cards. No matter what you think about the past, whether you agree with my statements or not, Max DeLuca and Bert Clemens got it wrong on Saturday night. So remember those names. And you can add them to the roll call, along with Adelaide Bird and Don Trella, coming to your area, causing mass hysteria. And if you missed the war between Orlando Salido and Mickey Ramon, make sure you catch a replay. It was a battle between two guys who were both a bit past it, but who only know one way to fight. So Salido landed a big right hand and hurt Ramon badly in the first round. And Ramon's the type of guy who always comes up short in the big fights. And it appeared that it was going to happen again. But while it seemed that way, Ramon was determined it wouldn't happen this time. So he battled back. He still needed a few rounds to kind of clear his head, get his legs together. And Salido's not the type of guy who's going to give you a chance to do that. So he kept coming at Ramon. So Salido started to land hard punches, and then out of nowhere, boom! Ramon landed a combination, and he put Salido down. Salido got up. Ramon started to step on the gas a little bit, and a few rounds later, he dropped Salido again. This time, Salido had that look that we've seen many times on his face, that it kind of mirrored Mike Tyson when he sat there after being dropped by Kevin McBride or even Danny Williams. He just kind of looked at the ref, and you could see the fight was being taken out of him. And another knockdown, and this baby was over. And so may be Siri's career. He announced that he retired, but we'll see. You know how that goes. Now, if anyone gets a chance, there are two things that are must-watch TV. You gotta watch them. One I'll talk about now, and the other I'll talk about later. The opening fight on the telecast, Jesse Vargas versus Steven Smith. Watch that fight. Or in particular, you can go to like the 8th round. Okay? They had an incident earlier in the fight where Smith's ear kind of got pulled away from his head a little bit, like it was strained or pulled, and so his left ear is kind of sticking out differently than his right ear. So to make it easy, go to round 8 and you'll see it. It just looks funny. And so watch the entire 8th round and just look at his ear and how it's kind of stretched a little bit from his face. Then watch the 9th round and what happened to Smith's ear. It has to be in the top 5 of the most grotesque things I've ever seen in the sport of boxing. When I tell you Holyfield versus Tyson 2 has nothing on this, believe it. Now, you saw that little piece of Holyfield's ear that kind of was bitten off. And if you watch MMA, you see the cauliflower ear that those guys get. Well, this dude's ear at the top was split in half, and some blood started gushing. And so I saw blood, and I'm looking, and then they put the camera in closely, and I'm telling you, if you can watch stuff like that, just keep watching it as they show the replay, and then as they come back live, and then a couple of minutes later, they show this slow motion, and it just looked worse. The more angles that they showed it from, the more times they showed. I mean, it was like rubber. Man, I mean, it was weird. Somebody please watch it and comment below. It was the... Gosh. I tell you what, I'm going to put 2 pictures of it. They basically look like the same picture, but they're slightly different angle. I'm going to put 2 pictures up on it in about 15 seconds. So if you're at your computer or on your phone staring at it, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to stare away if you can't look at it. I'm just warning people in case they want to turn away. Trust me. But this picture that will come up on the screen in a few seconds, it doesn't do it any justice. Watch the HBO replay and watch it all the way through, including the slow motion replay a couple of minutes after they keep showing it live. Yuck. All right, let's talk about Loma versus Rigo. You know, Jason Sosa Jason Sosa is my homeboy, and so I've already watched Lomachenko fight live a couple of times. So a couple of times before I saw him fight Sosa, so I knew what he looked like live. But in the Sosa fight, I left the building thinking, this is the greatest fighter I've ever seen in my life. Now, I know listeners are going to say I'm a dick rider, or I'm a nut hugger, or I'm a fanboy. Look, I get that. I'm not saying it because I'm a fanboy. I'm saying it because of the eye test he passed on TV, as well as seeing him live a few times. Now listen, I've been to many fights live as a fan and as a member of the boxing media. Many fights. I've seen Evander Holyfield live, Roy Jones Jr., Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, Vladimir Klitschko, Floyd Mayweather Jr., Bernard Hopkins, Miguel Cotto, Sergio Martinez. I mean, the list goes on. Too many to name. But I'm telling you, this guy is unreal. You know, somebody named Vasyl Lomachenko the Matrix some years ago. And although his walkout music is that song from The Matrix called Clubbed to Death, his official nickname is High Tech. Let me start out with the training. This guy was born to box. He does this high technology training. I'll see if I can leave a video of some below. Has anybody ever seen him do the thing with the dominoes and then the numbers that he does? It just looks very simple until you try to do it. So after 3 hours of training, they train the body. Then they go into this mind training. So they train the body for 3 hours. Then they go into the mind training with the dominoes. And so what happens is he stacks these blocks with numbers on them on a table, on top of each other as fast as possible. Then he does this thing where he walks to the wall and he sees these numbers. And he tries to find a pattern of numbers in order as fast as he can. Then he goes back to the table and starts to stack again. Then he goes back to the chart against the wall, and now the numbers are upside down. This man is a machine. Let me tell you more about his training. In training, his father, check this out, his father has him hold his breath for 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You hear me? 3 minutes and 30 seconds he holds his breath. Then they install these chips with electrodes that are implanted into his hand wraps. And they count every punch that he throws, every move he makes. They record and measure the quantity of its total. And then they put it together, and I don't know what they do with this stuff, but just, the dude is amazing. I mean, when you talk about his preparation for a fight, and then you get the results that you see once he fights, there's no question about why they call him high tech. The fight, I hate to say it, but the fight is probably the easy part. The hard part is the training. In the previous video I did, I said I'd tell you why Rigondeaux would lose this fight. I told you it wasn't because of weight. It wasn't because of age. It wasn't because of height. And I also said that the footwork, the activity, the skill set would be too much for Rigo. In the video, I mentioned he'd lose because of a few things. One of them was Loma's style. One of them was Loma's activity. However, the real reason that Guillermo Rigondeaux lost was simply his level of competition. Listen to what I'm saying, and you can do the math yourself. You can go to BoxRec or whatever, wherever the heck you want to go. It's a fact. Vasyl Lomachenko has fought more current or former world champions in 11 fights than Andre Ward did in his entire career. Look it up. So when you look at Rigondeaux, outside of Nonito Donaire, who has Rigondeaux fought? And if the first name that comes to your mind is King Kong Ekbeko, you have to remember he lost 3 out of his last 4 before he fought Rigo. So the answer to that is negative. And another thing, people kept referring to Guillermo Rigondeaux as an all-time great before this fight. So let me go back to his competition. Rigondeaux was dropped by Ricardo Cordoba. He dropped him once. And then he fought Hisashi Amagasa, and he got dropped by him twice. Now, do you think these guys would have dropped any of the all-time greats at bantamweight or super bantam? The answer is no. But Rigo's an all-time great though, right? Yeah, right. I mean, can you imagine Cordoba or Amagasa dropping Eder Joffrey or George Dixon or Panama Al Brown? How about Salvador Sanchez or Marco Antonio Barrera or Lupi Pintor? You think Cordoba or Amagasa would drop those guys? What about Wilfredo Gomez or Daniel Zaragoza or Eric Morales? They wouldn't drop these guys, and that's the point that I'm making. All-time great? Give me a break. People had Rigo in their top 5, but you have to ask yourself, why? He beat Donaire, what, 4 or 5 years ago? But what else? Give me something else. We're so quick to throw the word great around. He's a good fighter. Great amateur. Good fighter. Great amateur record. Professionally, he's a good fighter. But tell me what he did. Did he beat more former and current world champions than Andre Ward like Lomachenko did through 11 fights? My prediction was Lomachenko by knockout unless Rigo went into survival mode. That's what I thought. I thought, okay, if he went in survival mode, he'll kind of hold and do what he needed to do not to get knocked out. The last thing I thought this Joker would do would be to quit. And that's what he did. He quit. He did that on Saturday night. He said, no Moschenko. And he didn't play it up either. He didn't play it up at all. No indication of the hand being hurt. His excuse was the top of the hand was injured. Now, you know, if the top of a hand is injured, usually you'll see some type of knot or a bone sticking up or a bad laceration But there was nothing. A broken hand or a broken wrist is one thing, but an injury on top of a hand and with no sign of trauma. Okay. Look, boxing is a tough sport, and I know many are going to give Rigo a pass and buy into the hand excuse. But the Fight Journal ain't buying that shit. Your boy quit, guys. Deal with it. He started to fight dirty, and when that didn't work, he simply ran out of moves. He only had one move left, and that was to stay in that corner. Vasyl Lomachenko is a human truth-telling machine. He gets the truth out of you. And if the heat gets too hot, this is what happens. Rigo can give, but he can't take. Truth is, he tried to hold, he tried to foul, he tried to make it a dirty fight. Low blows didn't stop the machine. Holding didn't stop the machine. Nothing can stop the machine. He's a human truth-telling machine. He gets the truth out of people, and he got it on Saturday night. And listen, there's no shame in losing to this kid. Nicholas Walters couldn't take as well as he gave. My man Sosa couldn't take as well as he gave. Mariaga couldn't take as well as he gave. And now Rigo could be added to that list. Rigo landed 15 punches through 6 rounds. You hear me? Do you understand that stat? That means he landed 2.5 punches per round. And people prior to the fight were wondering how Loma could crack Rigo's defense. The only one of those guys who didn't really quit was Sosa. His corner kind of stopped it, but to be honest, Lomachenko took the gas out of Sosa. So if you watch the end of the fight, though, Lomachenko showed Sosa crazy respect because I think Loma probably said to himself, how is this kid still around in the 9th round? Like, what is he made of? And Sosa probably asked the same thing, like, what is this guy that I'm fighting made of? Oh, he's not going to do that clowning stuff with Rigo like he did with all the other fighters, because Rigo's going to knock his head off. But he did, didn't he? So, here's what you hear on Monday morning. You're going to hear Rigo was too small. You're going to hear Rigo got old overnight. And if you don't hear those two things, you're going to hear that, well, Rigo injured his hand and the injury was legit. But if you go back and watch the fight, you'll see that they were working on the right glove of Rigondeaux, not the left. And then if you look between the rounds, there was no indication of an injured hand between any round after the 2nd round. So those two things, come on, man. Lomachenko jabbed like we thought. He triple jabbed. He threw a damn triple uppercut. His pivot game is unmatched. If Mikey Garcia has the 2nd best legs, as someone on ESPN said, trust me, he's a distant 2nd. When Loma moves to 135, and it's coming soon because nobody's going to try to fight this guy. And so when he goes to 135 and fights guys bigger than him, I'm going to tell you one thing. He's going to go into another gear. Like, what I mean is most good fighters can hit that 4th gear. Special fighters, they can hit that 5th gear. But Lomachenko, it's like this guy is in 7th gear. And when he fights another fighter who's great at 130 or 135, or even at 140, don't be surprised if Vasyl Lomachenko takes it to an 8th gear. I mean, I'm telling you, I think he still has something left that is going to shock some people, because there's still going to be naysayers. Like, if I don't like to curse, and I think I did it. I meant to say ahead of time that I might do it in this video, but all that shit that Rigo talked in the and I understand he's the Twitter thing, you know what I mean? I understand he's someone else's, the administrator on his Twitter account. Let me just say this. You couldn't tell the difference, because when you saw him do interviews, he was talking that same smack. So I'm not buying that. Now, the other thing earlier that I told you I want you to watch, that's must-see TV if you didn't see it. Check out the post-fight debate between the teddy bear, Teddy Atlas, and Stephen A. Smith. I mean, Screaming A. Smith. Sorry, guys. Don't watch the SportsCenter replay of it. That only goes for a minute or two. Try to catch a video of the full back and forth between Atlas and Smith. I mean, they went at it hard for like 15 minutes. I'll try to find a video on YouTube or something and leave it below, so look for it. I mean, it was hilarious. Hilarious. Must see TV. So, check my man getting his ear ripped apart at the top, and check out the debate, the little back and forth between Atlas and Smith. It was both of those are must-see TV. All right, remember, guys, we got fights next week on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Wednesday on ESPN, the Hornet returns. Jeff Horn defends his belt that he stole from Manny Pacquiao against some guy named Cochran. Thursday on ESPN, one of those, I think the Jeff Horn is ESPN, and Thursday on ESPN2, I believe, it's Diego De La Hoya. He's in the main event. So one is ESPN2, one is regular ESPN. Check your listings. That's Wednesday and Thursday. Then Friday on Fox Sports 1, Jesse Vargas returns. Always exciting. And then on Saturday on HBO will be Billy Joke Saunders defending his belt against David Lemieux. Make sure you catch all of those fights. Leave your comments below. We'll catch you in the next one.